Hey everybody, it's Mr. Marvin, and in this video I'm going to explain to you your first essay assignment. So this is the first of 4 major papers that you're going to write over the course of this semester, and this first paper is called a close reading. And you're going to have an option of one of the first 2 readings that we used in the discussion boards. So up here at the top, or here I have the assignment sheet on the left, and at the top of the assignment sheet I have all the logistics that you need to know. So the length of this paper is going to be between 500 and 750 words, and I do want you to adhere to that word count. The only thing that counts toward your word count are all of your sentences. So your header information, the works cited page, all that stuff. That does not count toward your word count. All of your sentences and paragraphs do count toward your word count. So I want it to be between 500 and 750 words, and it is important to stick to that because it is part of the assignment. And if you give me fewer than 500 words, obviously you didn't give me enough writing. And if you go over 750 words, you did not edit yourself closely enough, right? So you need to know how to fit a good argument into different amounts of space. In this case, in 500, 750 words. This essay is worth 12 points. I explain how I get those 12 points in the How I Grade Your Essays video, which is in the reference folder. If you haven't watched those videos yet, now is the time to do it because they will help you score higher on this paper. You're going to use 2 quotes from one of the first 2 readings, either Paul Roberts or Anne Lamott, and I only recommend 2 or 3 quotes for this paper, at least 2, but probably not more than 3, because it is a short paper. It's only 500 to 750 words, and if you try to include more quotes than 2 or 3, you're probably going to start to overwhelm your paper, and it'll just be full of quotes, which won't be good for your content score. Obviously, we're a summer class, so things move quickly. The rough draft is due on Monday the 29th by the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. Peer reviews are due on Tuesday the 30th, right, 24 hours later by 11:59 p.m. And the final draft is due by Thursday the 1st at 11:59 p.m. Right, keep in mind that if you don't participate by posting your rough draft and your peer reviews, right, you will lose a point for each of those components that you are missing. So posting your rough draft and doing 2 peer reviews for your classmates, those are each worth a point. If you don't do any of that, you lose 3 points on the final draft of your paper. Okay, so like I said, this is a close reading assignment. A close reading is, to perform a close reading, is to analyze the specific elements of a text and how they contribute to the whole piece. A close reading may examine individual words, sentences, or ideas within the text to determine their purposes as they relate to the author's larger argument. A strong close reading emphasizes deep analysis on a few points rather than specific analysis on many points. So it's important to understand that we're going for depth and not breadth in this paper. Even though it's short, 500, 750 words, you still want to focus very specifically on a specific element of one of these 2 articles that you have read. Our first 2 readings both deal with aspects of the writing process. In How to Say Nothing in 500 Words, Paul Roberts examines common deficiencies in student writing and how to overcome them. In Shitty First Drafts, Anne Lamott uses humor and her own vulnerability to deconstruct some common myths about writing. So the important thing that I want to stress in a close reading is that this is an analysis of the text and how the text works as an argument. In other words, I don't want you to summarize this article, because I've already read it, you've already read it, everybody's already read it. You don't need to write a paper telling me what the article is about. What I want you to do is analyze different elements of the article and explain what purpose, what function those elements serve. That could be the use of a specific word, it could be the use of humor, it could be the use of subheadings, right? Any aspect of the author's rhetoric, that is their use of language, you can choose to analyze and figure out why did the author make this decision, right? To write this sentence this way, to use this word instead of another word, to organize the paper this way. Those are all elements of rhetoric that you could analyze. So your assignment is to, in a coherent, well-written essay, perform a close reading of Roberts or Lamont's article, one or the other. Do not do both. In doing so, analyze their ideas and then evaluate the efficacy of the author's message. That is, how effective is the author's message? In other words, do not simply summarize or parrot, mimic what Roberts or Lamont is saying, but determine what makes their argument effective or not. Okay? So the difference here is that you are not simply agreeing or disagreeing with Roberts or Lamont. Okay? You are evaluating the quality of their argument and what makes it a good argument or a not good argument, right? And why. So that's a really important distinction to understand. If you write a paper where you're just agreeing, right, or summarizing, right, or saying that you liked Lamont's advice, right, and it will help you write better papers, that's not what we're trying to do. You're trying to analyze some element of the article and explain how it works. So Anne Lamont is funny. Why does she choose to be funny? Well, that's something you could figure out and make an argument about, right, as far as how it helps her achieve her goals in that article, how it helps her write a stronger argument. So it's also important that you don't just mimic what they're saying. So if you write a paper and your thesis statement is that writing shitty first drafts is important, that's not what this paper is about. Anne Lamont has already written a paper about why shitty first drafts are important. So you don't need to write that paper. What you need to do is you need to analyze whether or not her argument is a good argument and why or why not. So that's a really important distinction to make sure that you understand before you do this assignment, okay? You are analyzing and evaluating the argument of the author as an argument. You are not summarizing the article, and you are not just repeating what they say in your own words, okay? Do not simply put the author's argument into your own words. There you go. Rather, analyze the author's rhetoric, their use of language, to determine how their argument works or doesn't work. So whether you agree or disagree with their advice is secondary, because what you're analyzing and what you're arguing about is whether their article is effective or not and why, right? You might totally disagree with Anne Lamont and think that shitty first drafts are a terrible idea, but you could still argue that it's an effective argument because of the way she uses humor, because of the way she uses personal stories or anecdotes, etc., etc. Okay? Remember, everything is an argument. Roberts and Lamont are both making arguments about their topics. Your job is to make your own argument about whether or not their article is successful or not and why. What is it about their writing that makes it work or not work? Your argument should comprise both an analysis and an evaluation of Roberts or Lamont's argument. So analysis is how it works. It's not just what it is. It's not just summary or paraphrase. It's how it works, right? Thinking critically about the article and figuring out how it operates. You might agree or disagree, or wish to clarify or complicate the author's message, but focus on how and why the text works. Use specific examples, those are your quotes, from the author's article to support your analysis and your argument. Okay? As always, you want to make sure you have a clearly defined thesis statement. We are writing argumentative academic papers in this class. That means you should generally avoid using personal language. That stuff is fine for the discussion boards, but if you say, I think, I feel, I believe, in my opinion, it takes away from the academic gravitas, the argumentative qualities of your paper, because it just turns it into an opinion essay or paper, right? And we're trying to present strong, authoritative arguments and not just share our thoughts and feelings. Your analysis are your thoughts, and they are your feelings, but you're just presenting them in an academic way, right? So rather than say, I think Anne Lamont gives great advice, okay? That's very personal, right? It's not very argumentative because you're just giving your opinion about whether or not you like the article. On the other hand, if you say Anne Lamont's argument is effective because of her use of humor, that is academic. There's no I think, I feel, I believe in my opinion, but it is still your thought that you are making an argument about, okay? So I would avoid the first person, right, as much as you can, and that will strengthen your writing. There's a video in the reference videos folder about how to write a good thesis statement. I strongly recommend that you watch that if you haven't already. Maybe rewatch it even. It's hard to write a good argumentative paper if you don't have a strong, specific thesis statement guiding that paper. You should be able to point to a specific sentence in your introduction that tells your reader what you're going to be arguing. Remember, the thesis statement guides your paper. It's the thing you're trying to prove. It's your perspective, your position. It's the thing you're trying to convince your reader of. Your paper, that is your grade, depends on a strong thesis statement, so feel free to run yours by me or post it in the course questions forum so that everybody can see my answer. You're required to use at least 2, probably no more than 3 quotes from the article that you choose, either Roberts or Lamont, to support your argument. You do not need to do any additional research, and I do not want you to for this paper. You must also have a works cited page. You can see the pages in the syllabus and also the how to format your essay video that I have posted that will tell you everything you need to know about putting your paper in MLA format. That stuff is very important because not only is it a third of each paper grade, it also is a matter of following directions, which is step one to doing well in an online course. As always, see me or your syllabus if you need any help with MLA formatting. So I'm going to keep the video as short as I can. If you have any questions about anything I said in the video, or if anything is not clear, by all means, feel free to ask me a question. Teachers love questions, so please post those in the course questions forum. Okay? Good luck, keep up the good work, and we are off and running.